too many of the stories that are WNBA stories are negative in nature or controversial in nature, or there's controversy created. Why? I don't see that in any other sport. But so little of the attention is actually on the game itself.
All right, 12 national championships, 25 Final Four appearances. Those numbers only begin to scratch the surface of the University of Connecticut women's basketball team. And now we'll go below that surface with a new 3-part docuseries streaming on Apple TV called The Dynasty, UConn Huskies. The architect of that dynasty, he's a Basketball Hall of Fame head coach. He is Geno Auriemma, who joins us here at USA Today in our Times Square studio. Coach, thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, 3-parter here on Apple TV. Why'd you agree to do this?
I ask myself that question all the time. Things always sound better at the beginning. I think there's a curiosity out there among people of how do these things happen? There's a curiosity on their end that want to know, and there seems to be we should let everybody know. So it's time for both of those things. The popularity of the game right now, how dominant it's been at UConn, it just seemed like the perfect time to do it.
Did you have input in the final product?
Yeah, not as much as I would like, but yeah, we did. We wanted to make sure that it was authentic, that it was real, that it was as real as it can be, and that it told the story the way it needed to be told. And I think the final product really gives a true picture of what happens behind the scenes. Some people may know, some might be brand new to them. But we just wanted to make sure it was authentic, for sure.
How much, and I know especially in this day and age, and especially with a program like yours, you already have a social media team that's kind of documenting things on a daily basis on a smaller level than a 3-part docuseries. But how much, I guess, access did you have to grant, the production companies involved here to do this?
As much as they wanted, within reason. I think there's a pattern that we found out with these things, that they'll ask for A, B, and C, but they really want D, and so they schmooze you to try to get the D. And then once they thank you profusely for giving them D, what if we throw a little bit of E in there, So it's never ending, but you do have to kind of monitor it a little bit. After a while, they were there, but you didn't notice them as much. And I thought they were very respectful of what we were trying to do. And I thought they pulled out some really great interviews from the kids, from the players, and got them to open up in a way that I was hoping they would.
When you watch current and former players speak about you, what goes through your mind?
How much of that is true? And I've got to go, I bet you some of it was true. And then the other part is, they're embellishing a little bit probably. It's, I'll make fun of them sometimes. I'll say, you guys talk about like those 4 years were the 4 worst years of your life. Meanwhile, those were the 4 greatest years of your life because they set you up for everything that came after that. But who looks back on that and says, I remember when my parents were really, really hard on me and they did this. It was the greatest time of my life. Nobody's going to say that. But I think they spoke their mind. They were honest. I think they were true to themselves. This is what I thought. They weren't trying to make it sound like anything that it wasn't. So as I'm listening to him, I'm a little bit, yeah, you could have thought of some other things to say that would make me look a little bit better, but you know, I had no say, no input whatsoever on what they said.
You learn anything?
Yeah. I learned that not everybody interprets things the way you do, in the sense that this is what I mean by that. Well, they don't know that. This is what I meant to say. So you know what I meant to say. No, I don't know that. This is why we did this particular thing that day. Yeah, but I thought it was the worst thing we ever did. So you start to see how every decision that you made impacts everybody differently. Not everybody took it the way you intended it. Sometimes you read the situation exactly right, and sometimes you get it wrong.
Was there one player throughout your coaching career who maybe at jump, even though they committed to UConn, you guys weren't on the same page, maybe even in the same book, and by the end of their time there, you guys were reading from the same lines?
Oh, I bet you that happened a lot more than people think. Mm-hmm. Because the great players that you bring in, and I'm sure you've dealt with some, great actors, actresses, professional athletes. They're very headstrong. They're very sure of themselves. They're very confident in their abilities. They know your job better than you do in their mind, right? So when you're dealing with players at that level, it's never, hey, do this, got it, coach. Never. Because in their mind, it's always, how can I do it better? How can I do it differently than he just told me, and show him how smart I am? The great ones are dying to do that. So the challenge as a coach is to bring them in, give them enough room to roam, but always have some boundaries for them, because otherwise they take off, and next thing you know, they're coaching the team instead of you.
Is there when you characterize that great player, you've had so many, is there one that comes to mind that was pushing back?
Well, just recently, that people know, Paige was a perfect example of that, Paige Beckers, in that I want to win, coach, but I want to do it my way. And they're like, yeah, but have you ever won a national championship, Paige? No, but I know how to do it. All right, how about we try it my way first? And there was always a but, and some of that is fun. Some of that, the banter is really good because you can see what they're thinking. Sometimes you can tell whether they're questioning and you need to clear things up for them. And sometimes you just know they're just being a shithead today. That's all there is to it. And there's nothing you can do about it, and you're going to have to lay down the law for them. But in the end, what makes them great, what makes them champions, is their constant questioning. They're insatiable in their curiosity. It's incredible.
Now, Paige's highs and lows are covered in this docuseries. What can current and future players learn from what Paige went through and how she got through it?
Paige's high school career was kind of fairy tale. You go through, for the most part, you win all the time. There were some setbacks where they didn't win state championships. I've always wanted to go to UConn. I get scholarship to Connecticut. I show up. My freshman year, I'm screwed because of the bubble, and there's no fans in the building. I win every single award there is to win. I won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, a Tony. I won Time Magazine's player. Like every award you can imagine that was given to a women's basketball player, she won every award. And not enough people got a chance to see her play. And then for the next couple of years after that, it was nothing but setbacks. Not giant setbacks, some of them, but setbacks in missing parts of a season, coming up short at the end, the whole missing season, her junior year, that was traumatic for her because she loves the game so much. So what I want them to learn is there were plenty of times where Paige could have just walked away from it. It's too hard here. The demands are too much. The reputation of this program. Look at all those national championship banners. I can't do this. You know, I'm one wall, one obstacle after another. I can't do this. My injuries, I can't rehab it anymore. There have been so many opportunities for her to just find an easier way out. And instead, she figured out a way to use all those things that happened to her as fuel, as motivation, as an impetus that, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to finally get this. After all this, that's going to be my reward.
And I think it's an important point when you say that Paige's high school career was fairy tale. I believe you've already spoken about this on the record. You didn't recruit Caitlin Clark because you had already committed to Paige and you already had believed in her and thought that, I don't want to say necessarily you thought Paige was better than Caitlin, but you had Paige. You weren't going to renege on that and try to recruit Caitlin,
no.
Even though Caitlin was publicly said she was kind of hurt by it.
My thing is, you should have picked up the phone and called me and said, Coach, I want to come to Connecticut.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever the case, to be honest with you. Everybody wants to be recruited by Connecticut. Like, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't be able to sit there and go, hey, Mom, guess what? I just got offered a scholarship from UConn. Or any of the other big schools in the country. When I saw Paige play, the commitment to Paige was very early. And if I didn't think we could get Paige, who knows what would have happened? Who knows who we may have recruited, who we may have gotten. But I knew we were going to get Paige. And I also knew that that's not going to work, the two of them together for 4 years in college. So no disrespect to anybody. We got what we wanted. We got what we needed. And the rest is history.
We're talking about the latest national championship or one of the players that was on that team. Let's go back to the first national championship for a second. Could any of this have happened or happened in the manner it did without Rebecca Lobo?
Probably not. Probably not. We needed a national name. We needed someone to commit to Connecticut that sent a message to the rest of the country. That's a good enough place for the number one player in the country to go to school at. And the funny part is that people don't realize this. While Rebecca was a senior in high school, we went to the Final Four without her. She shows up on campus. We're terrible. Her first 2 years in campus, we made the NCAA tournament. We were terrible. So we got worse when she got there. I keep telling her that all the time. But it allowed us, when we got Rebecca, that by the time she was a junior, we had started bringing in the kind of kids that then started to bring in the players that became what we became. Winning that national championship in 1995, Rebecca was the face of college basketball. So anytime you've got that person playing on your team, the rest of the country's looking at it like, wow, that could be me at UConn. So it opened up a lot of doors for us.
Over these last 3+ decades, as you have the face of college basketball on your team, and then you go on this incredible run, it obviously brings a lot of media coverage as well. How have you dealt with kind of keeping the noise at bay, or at least to a point where it doesn't affect your team in a negative manner?
It's become so hard. It really has. In the early 90s, mid 90s, social media wasn't a thing. it didn't consume kids' lives like it does today. It didn't impact their daily lives to the extent that their lives are impacted today. So they could just play basketball and go to class and hang out with their friends. We win a big game on Saturday. Go to Ted's, go to the bar, hang out, have a blast, and nobody's going to care. Nobody's walking around with a camera taking a picture of you, right? Nobody's going to spoil a great day for you by, posting something. We had more fun back then because we could. We were more innocent back then. It was new. It was fresh. Wow, look what these guys are doing. And you look at it today, and it's much, much more difficult for these kids to enjoy what they're doing. It's like, you see these celebrities, whether they're Hollywood celebrities, New York celebrities, whatever they are, pulling away from the limelight because it's just gotten too much to have to deal with every single day. And these are, a lot of them, experienced grown adults used to success. Imagine you're 18, 19 years old, and people are saying, hey, you're the face of women's basketball. That's hard, really hard. And for us, we try as best we can to keep it. You can't deny it. You can't say, hey, look, don't read it. It's like oxygen to them. But you can say, listen, for every 5 people that kill you on social media, 25 people are going to go, you're out of your mind. I love her. Now, you hope that's the ratio,
right?
Not the other way around.
That's what you tell them, at least.
Yeah.
Do you have any rules with your team as far as social media?
Well,
around
it's funny. We used to say, all right, once the season starts, no Twitter. That lasted about a year. Like, who cares? I don't need that. I've got 15 other ways that I can communicate. All right, leave your phone. I mean, you walk in our building, you put your phone in our phone box. You can't have it till we're done. Everything's done, and you're getting ready to leave. How do we know they don't have 3 phones? Well, you don't know anything anymore. But you do your best to try to say, hey, look, let's try to be, phone-free for as much as we can when we're on the road. One of our freshmen carries this big briefcase that just has all the phones in there. So you try your best, but it's hard. I mean, it's just and some players are better at avoiding it than others. The worst part, the parents of these kids who read this stuff about their kids, and now it's like, oh my God, come on, don't believe this stuff. It's so there's a lot to manage now today that we didn't have to manage.
Are you managing? I mean, there's been obviously a whole other conversation about youth sports and the way that's changed over the last 30, 40 years also.
Yeah.
So I guess that even has affected even the UConn women's basketball team and the head coach.
Yeah.
Even has to deal with that.
Think about it. You go to a Knicks game, right? You go to a Knicks game, and you've got grown men and women going to a Knicks game in a Knicks game jersey with their favorite player name on the back. Great. But when you see family members with jerseys with their son or brother or sisters, you start to feel like this is not just a game anymore. This is people are living their lives through you. That's a lot to carry around, Mm-hmm. But that's where it is, man. That's where it's become.
Has sports gambling, has that at all affected?
Not that anything? I know of.
That's good.
Yeah, not that I know of. But there's a line on every game. I ask these guys after every game. Sometimes I'll be curious. I'll say, by the way, what was the line on today's game? And they'll tell me, and I go, you got to be kidding me. Who would bet on one? And I'm just flabbergasted by it, to be honest with you.
How do you feel about the state of women's basketball right now, college women's basketball?
College women's basketball is in a great place. More and more games are being shown on television. More and more stories are being written about individual players. The NCAA tournament, the games have been unbelievably competitive. The Final Fours have been competitive. I think we have to be careful that we don't fall into a trap of only money matters where kids go to school and not some real reasons why you should, and the money, but not having the money be the number one thing. But otherwise, I think it's in a great, great place, attendance-wise, ratings-wise, everything. Sponsorship-wise, how much these kids are asked to do, to how many companies want to be associated with women's basketball players today. It's phenomenal.
I believe it was a year or 2 years ago, you had made the comments about there being like no rules essentially and kind of being the wild, wild west.
Right.
Are you seeing that kind of get reined in a little bit? Is that because you're speaking very positively about everything that's happening? And there are a lot of positives.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
There are a lot of positives. But the negatives throw dirt on the positives and make it blurry. So, hey, the game has never been better. Yeah, then why are you letting players leave every year? Why can they go anywhere they want every year? Yeah, we got a problem with that, and they need to address that. What about all this money that's being paid under the table, not just above what they're getting? What are you going to do about that? Well, we need to rein that in. How are we going to do that? We're not like a pro franchise. We don't have collective bargaining with the union. So there are things that are happening that have always happened. It's just that now they are blatant and people know about them. Before, hey, here's a car. Come play for us. Now I got to ask my players, hey, can you help me get a car? But there are things we need to fix. No question about that. No question about that. And we'll see how they get fixed.
Any ideas? Any thoughts on how they could get fixed? I know obviously the president has compiled a task force to try to tackle it.
Yeah, they're trying to get some legislation in Washington. But the issue really is with the coaches and the schools themselves. They all clamor for more rules. But even before they write RULE, by the time they get the S, they've already figured out how we're breaking that particular rule. So it's like we want rules, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to follow them because they're competing against people and they all think everybody else is cheating. It's a mess. But we have to accept that there's got to be rules. So from a coaching standpoint, a school standpoint, we can't tolerate people doing things that are blatantly against the integrity of the game. And if we could all agree to that, but we need some legislation that really puts the hammer down to those people that don't. Like you're in the NBA, you circumvent the salary cap. You're in deep doo-doo, big time. Well, you get caught doing this, nobody knows who's doing what. What are the consequences? We don't have what we need right now in terms of structure and guidance.
We've seen a number of ways in which the NBA has affected men's college basketball, whether you talk about one and done, whether you talk about the three-point shot. How, if at all, does the W affect women's college basketball?
Up until recently, not at all. In the sense that what they're doing and what the college players are doing, because they can't go there until their senior year, they're not actively every year, hey, if I leave this year, where am I going to go? If I leave after my freshman year, where am I going to slot in the draft? If I leave, they know, hey, I'm here for 4 years. So it's out of their mind. Yeah, it's a goal for every one of them down the road, for sure. Those that are legitimately pros. But in terms of anything else, no, up until now, where I think the salaries have how they've gone up, the more exposure that they're getting, the teams, how the young players are impacting the WNBA on the court. I think college players are much more aware now of what's going on up there.
Are you, especially with that, do you at all worry about this current news cycle of the way in which the WNBA is making headlines?
Yeah. We were talking, Ann and I were talking recently about what is it about certain segment of people that they can't leave well enough alone. They got to slam somebody somehow, some way. And it makes you wonder, like, what is their motivation? Right now, too many of the stories that are WNBA stories are negative in nature or controversial in nature, or there's controversy created. Why? I don't see that in any other sport. I mean, even though they all have controversies, don't get me wrong, but so little of the attention is actually on the game itself, on the players themselves. And I don't know where that came from. I mean, I have my ideas, but that kind of publicity is not the kind of publicity that women's basketball needs, that women's sports needs. We need the appreciation for the talents of these athletes. We need appreciation for these teams. We need appreciation for the level of play that exists today. People are watching. People are going to games. People are pouring money into franchises. Let's talk about that.
You've dabbled a little bit in the media now as well. I saw you with two of your former players, actually, before you called the game between the Liberty and Dallas, and you were chatting with Paige and Brianna, and you started, I noticed you kind of slipped something in there. You started talking about 2028 and the Olympics. First of all, are you still involved with Team USA at all? Or no?
I am not.
You are not.
I am not.
But you were still.
So I can't be blamed for anything that happens.
You were trying to do a little bit of bidding, though, to make sure that that they're both maybe a part of the team or willing to be a part of the team.
Yeah. If I had to guess, I would guess that the two of them are going to be on the team in 2028. They were just added to the World Cup roster for the World Cup in September. But one of the great things I've ever experienced was being able to coach my former players in the Olympics in 2012 and 16. Because after they left college, I never imagined that I would have that opportunity. So I coached them when they're kids, 18. They're teenagers, 18, 19, and then 20, 21. But to coach them as 30-year-olds and see how much they've grown and what they've accomplished and all the different coaches that they've had since me, and me now to have another opportunity to guide them and to be around them and appreciate them, that was probably one of the highlights of my coaching career.
All right, let's get you out of here on these two things. First, as far as this 3-part doc on Apple TV, what do you hope people take from it?
That's hard as hell what we do. It's really, really hard. Anytime you look deep into something that's been, you mentioned it at the beginning, 25 Final Fours. Anytime you are able to do that at that level for that long a period of time, people need to see why. And I want them to see that there's nothing special about it. There's no well, why are they allowed to do this and no one's allowed to do it? We don't do anything special. We don't do anything different. But I want them to see the quality of the kids that we bring in. And there's a lot of those kids playing college basketball all over the country. And this is our method of doing it. You can learn something from that. You can say, I don't want any part of that. But this is how we do things. And it's important that every young kid out there that's watching sees it and says, do I want to be part of that? And it's important that every parent sees it and says, do I want my kid to be held accountable like that every day? A lot of lessons to be learned there, good and not so good.
All right, last one. I don't know if you're going to do this, but I'm going to try anyways.
Uh-oh.
Would you do a Mount Rushmore of your players, of UConn players?
You know, it's funny you say that because when we were in Tampa and we won a national championship, it's late, like late at night, close to early morning, and we're all sitting around, and all the players were there. All the ex-players were there. And they're all sitting there, you know, and Paige wants to act like she's 35, you know. She wants to act like those other guys. And it's like, yo, dude, you can't run with these guys, man. So as we started going around, I started seeding them by championships. And I said, Rebecca, you only have one. You sit over there with Jen Rosati, Jamel Elliott, Keisha. You guys, you're over there. Let's see. You guys, you have two. You sit over here. Stewie, you're in a class of your own. You're over here.
Over there.
Before,
over that way.
You know. So as you start going and say, well, I would say if there was one, I would think probably Rebecca because of the way it evolved. Diana, Maya. How many do you get? Four? And there's think about it. Think about what you're asking me to do.
Oh, I know.
You're trying to ask me to leave guys that are in the Hall of Fame off of Mount Rushmore.
I know. It's like the Yankees. It's like the top four of the Yankees.
It is.
And I'm a huge Yankee fan. Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera. I love them both to death. They don't crack the top four. I don't think anyone ever will because of the history of the team. And
that's what did Shaq just say about the Lakers? I thought it was really cool. They asked him if LeBron was going to be in the pantheon of what did he say? He's invited to the dance.
He's at the party. He's not on stage.
He's at the party, but he's not on stage. So we got a lot of Hall of Famers that are at the party, but they won't be on stage.
Stewie's the fourth, though, right?
I think if you win 4 championships, it's hard to keep you off of there.
Yeah.
If you win 4 championships. If you're Diana and you win 3, it's hard to keep you off of there. If you're Maya and you score 3,000 points, it's hard to keep you off of there. You know.
And Rebecca helped start it all.
And
by the way, this was mine. We chatted about this earlier, and this was mine.
Those are yours?
Yeah, so I feel very good about this.
Yeah, you're like, yeah. You're like one of those mind readers that you guided me to that.
Oh, I'm not Oz. I'm not Oz the mentalist or any mentalist. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I will say, Coach, this is a lot of fun. Having a coach who's currently in it, who's currently competing, it's tough to get you guys to stop and look back and appreciate what you've done. So thanks for doing this, and thanks for sitting down with us here. Really appreciated it.
Oh, thanks for having me. We don't get an opportunity to talk about this stuff. You're right. And normally we get sports writers asking the same questions all the time. So, this was fun, and I hope we get a chance to do it again.